Hello friends, I hope you all are doing extremely good. So in today's session, let's talk about certification trademarks. So when we talk about certification trademarks, we need to remember that the chapter 9 of the Trademarks Act 1999, which covers section 69 to 78, talks about certification marks. So what does certification mark mean? As per the definition given under the WIPO, a certification mark is a mark used to indicate the goods and services in connection with which it is used are certified by the proprietor of the mark in respect of origin, material, mode or manufacturing of goods or performance of services, quality, accuracy or other characteristics. So whenever we have a object or goods which are to be certified as per the standards of any of the mark, for example ISO certifications, so they all come under the certification mark because they are certifying a particular object. Sometimes people get confused between the certification mark and the collective mark. So in this we need to remember that certification mark are used to represent a standard of good or the quality or origin of a good. On the contrary, the collective mark is representing a group or society of people or the society of members of a community. For example, the CA mark, the CA certifications which we have, so they all come under the collective mark. But for certification mark, the ISO mark or any of the other mark which are used to indicate the certifications, or for example FSCI, food safety and security mark, so they all come under the certification mark. Now when we talk about the application for registration of the certification mark, so it is given under section 71 of the act. So it has to be applied the same way you apply for any of the other mark, but you need to remember to keep care of the section 70 of the act, which talks about what cannot be a certification mark. So apart from it, it has to be applied the same way, the similar way the way you apply for the any other mark. So govern, and along with this you need to file the governing regulations as well, same as we used to do with the collective mark. In collective mark also we have to give the governing regulations, and in the certification mark as well you need to provide the governing regulations as per section 74, and these regulations have to be advertised, and they again can be altered or amended as per the requirement of the act or the requirement of the registrar or the need of the proprietor of the mark. So everything can happen as per section 74, but these regulations have to go along with the application. So when we talk about application, then coming back to section 72, you need to remember that whenever you make an application, the registrar will look into three things for to make or to grant the registration of a certification mark. The first and foremost is whether the applicant who is applying for the certification mark is competent enough to certify any of the goods or services with respect to which the mark is being registered, or which will be used to certify the goods or services. So whether that applicant or the proprietor is competent or not. Second, what he will be looking into is whether the draft of the regulations is satisfactory. So it should not be ambiguous, it should not be contrary to the established laws of the land. So if those regulations or the rules which are being proposed along with the mark are satisfactory or not. And a third is that whenever we talk about any of the IP, it is always for the public benefit. So in case of the certification mark as well, whether the registration would be advantageous to the public or not. So again this portion will have to be looked into by the portion has to be looked into through the regulations. So if the regulations are not advantageous to the public, so they would not be granted registration. Now whenever we make an application, there can be two cases: either it would be an acceptance or the rejection or refusal. So if there is an acceptance, so no questions asked, your application passes through the all the process and it gets accepted. But if there is a refusal, so the registrar cannot refuse or cannot deny the registration of a mark, whether it's a collective mark, it's a certification mark, or it's any other application. The registrar cannot deny that until and unless he or she gives you an opportunity of hearing. So if he finds any of the discrepancies in the application, he will be giving you an opportunity of hearing. Then post that hearing, he might be satisfied, or he might order you an amendment to the application. So he might ask you to amend your applications, amend your regulations, amend your this TMA form, and post that amendment. It will be like acceptance with certain conditions, or acceptance with the amendments, or the final refusal can be there. Post that final refusal also, if you find any errors in the order, you can always challenge that in the higher authorities. Now, whenever we talk about appositions and advertisements, then we need to remember about section 21. Certification mark again has to go for all that process, that it shall be accepted and advertised by the registry. It will be then open for the public to oppose, similar to what all provisions are given under section 21. Then what are the rights conferred by the certification mark? Subject to the provisions of section 34, 35 and 76, exclusive right to use the mark is being provided by the act. So whoever is the proprietor, so he will be using it exclusively, but this right is always subject to conditions and limitations to which the said registration is being provided. So if you have given any of the undertakings, or any of the conditions have been imposed on over your mark, so you will have to abide by those conditions. Then again, cancellation or varying of registration. So similar to what we have seen for the collective mark, the certification mark again, they, if the proprietor is no longer competent to certify any of the product, then the certification mark can be cancelled. Or if the proprietor has failed to observe the regulations, so the regulations which have been provided with the application, if that regulations have been failed to, if the proprietor has failed to observe those regulations, then the said certification mark can be subjected to cancellation. A mark is no longer to the public advantage, or the regulations have to be varied for the public advantage. In all those cases, either there will be sought an amendment. Specifically in this case, if the mark is no longer available for public good, then an amendment will be sought in this case. In this case, if the mark is no longer for the public advantage, then there can be a cancellation as well. So this was a short video for the certification mark. In the next video, let's discuss about the infringements, or the cases which would not be an infringement in case of certification mark. I hope you liked this video. If you have any doubt, please do drop them in the comment section below. Please do hit the like button and subscribe my channel. Thank you.